perspective, but I've heard lots of stories about how slavery and seen lots of pictures. Do you think that there's a difference in modern day slavery now? Because sometimes, as a young black person, I still feel like I'm in slavery.
Thank you for that question. As a matter of fact, I had prepared a talk for the event that was organized by Baroness Okola Young to observe the anniversary of the abolition of slavery here last November. And my mother died. I was unable to come because of the death of my family. And so I had actually planned to talk about some of those cosmetics. Okay, I actually planned to talk about the ways in which we still live in a world that is haunted by slavery, but also by the failure to fully abolish slavery. I'm just amazed that in the U.S., it's assumed that if a president made a proclamation, if there was an amendment to the Constitution abolishing slavery, that slavery had to be abolished, as if this complicated system of human exploitation that had become part of the cultural fabric, not only of the South, but of the entire nation, could just be cut down, just like that. And so what we had was a situation where perhaps slavery was abolished in terms of the negative side, the chains were cut, but all the other aspects of slavery were left intact. One of the arguments that we make when we call for the abolition of the imprisonment as a dominant mode of punishment is that, at least in the U.S., the prison is the imperator of all of those structures of slavery. They have been kept alive. As a matter of fact, the Constitution of the U.S., in that 13th Amendment that abolishes slavery, it abolishes slavery except for those who have been, quote, duly convicted of a crime. But then there are all kinds of other remnants and vestiges of slavery that are still with us, not the least of which is racism. In the U.S., there is this discourse of racial equality and color blindness, right? If we want to achieve racial equality, we have to learn how not to notice race. Racism. And we have to forget how to talk about race. And that's one of the real difficulties we're confronting now. There isn't a language with which to talk about structural racism. Racism that is so deeply embedded in institutions and that does not necessarily go by the name of racism. And so you have what we've experienced quite recently, a whole spate of racist comments and sort of these little explosions of racism. Gen 6, I guess you've heard about the Gen 6 case. You've probably heard about Michael Richards and the comedian and his comments, and maybe you heard about Don Imus, and then the most recent one was the journalist Kelly Tillman, a golf journalist, who, when she was talking about Tiger Woods with another golf journalist, they were reflecting on how difficult it is for young golfers to catch up with Tiger Woods. So this one journalist says, yeah, it seems like they're only getting up on it. And so the other journalist, Kelly Tillman, says, yeah, they have to catch him and lynch him in a backyard. And this is like and then, of course, afterwards, she loudly said to herself, where did that come from? There's this whole reservoir for racism that is a part of the U.S. psyche, a part of the collective psyche, just as racism is a part of the institutions, the educational institutions. Race matters when it's a question of determining who's going to get to go to university and who's not. So who's going to go to So I'm absolutely glad you raised that question. And therefore, we have to ask ourselves, what can we do in order to become 21st century abolitionists? Thank you.